I'm going to share with you a poem by the great writer Margaret Atwood, and this is called Siren Song. This is the one song everyone would like to learn, the song that is irresistible, the song that forces men to leap overboard in squadrons even though they see the bleached skulls, the song nobody knows, because anyone who has heard it is dead, and the others can't remember. Shall I tell you the secret, and if I do, will you get me out of this bird suit? I don't enjoy it here, squatting on this island, looking picturesque and mythical with these two feathery maniacs. I don't enjoy singing. I will tell the secret to you. Come closer, come closer. The song is a cry for help, and only you can help. You are unique. It's a boring song, but it works every time. The great hero of the Trojan War was Odysseus. Odysseus, whose story is later told in the great epic poem suitably called the Odyssey. But Odysseus in the Iliad was a veteran, seasoned, and very crafty and intelligent hero. He was the king of Ithaca, and it was he who figured out how to finally end the Trojan War after 10 years of besieging the gates of Troy. He said, "Let us build a giant wooden horse, and we'll fill it with our warriors, and we'll leave it outside their gate, and they'll be so curious, they'll have to bring it inside their walls," which they did to their chagrin, and the warriors poured out and they opened the gates, and bada bing, bada boom, the Trojan War was done. So Odysseus gathered his sailors and decided to go back to his wife Penelope on Ithaca. It had been 10 years, but he was going to go home anyway. But he did something very smart. Before he got on his way, he got travel advice from a very famous witch named Circe. And she gave him some hints here and there, but she said, "Listen, when you go by the island of the Sirens, make sure everyone's ears are plugged, because you will not be able to resist." Well, Odysseus figured he was better than everyone else. He made all his sailors plug their ears with wax, but he wanted to hear the siren's song. So he had them tie him to the mast, and he said, "Do not release me no matter what." When they got near the island, he heard the song. The sirens sang so beautifully and so seductively, he was jumping out of his skin to get off the boat and get to the island. They were promising him all knowledge, not just the beauty of their song. And he fought and he tried to get loose of these things that were binding him, but he couldn't, and so they sailed on to their further adventures. In his recent book, Siren's Song, Chris Hayes, who is currently an anchor on MS Now, tells the story of the sirens. His story is the story that Laura shared with you, the current wholesale theft and sale of our attention, the exploitation we never consented to and we cannot resist. Much like the sirens of old, these things take our attention and essentially take our lives. Unlike Odysseus, we have nobody to keep us safe. We have nobody to plug our ears, nobody to warn us about these sirens or protect our eyes from their relentless theft. The relentless siren song loosed on our world by the richest and most powerful men on the planet. Their wealth, their political influence is staggering. 8 of the top 10 richest individuals, all men, in the world are tech giants. From mid-2025 until now, this group donated, shared, gave, however you want to name it, $765 million into our political system. Political contributions, lobbying, supporting candidates who will vote for them in our legislatures, state and national. Meta, the company parent of Facebook, alone has 86 lobbyists, one for every 6 members of Congress. The $765 million this industry contributed to our government constitutes roughly 25% of all donations, all financial support that goes to our system. 25%. I don't know about you, but that's a staggering number to me. Which brings us to my use of the word oligarchs. Oligarch is a term that most recently was being used to describe Russian billionaires profoundly embedded in the Russian government and benefiting to the tunes of billions of dollars, or rubles in their case, from their engagement with government. Our United States tech oligarchs are every bit as much oligarchs as their Russian counterparts. In 2016, a high-level Facebook executive said publicly that Facebook had gotten Donald Trump elected. In this most recent election, Mark Zuckerberg publicly announced that he was firing fact-checkers from Facebook because their work was leading to too much bias in his company, and that he intended to work closely with President Donald Trump in order to make sure that this didn't happen anymore. Maybe this explains why Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, and Elon Musk, the axis of tech evil, see what I did there? The axis of tech, and 3 of the top 4 richest men in the world, maybe that's why they got front seats to Mr. Trump's inauguration. Not only do they profit from the theft of our attention and from our global capacity to focus, they hedge their bets by using their enormous wealth to make sure our government complies with keeping them in power. We are paying for their devices. We are paying for their ability to steal our attention. We are paying for the salaries of the politicians whose votes they have bought. And as if that weren't enough, we're paying for all the gazillions of stuff and trips and ideas and everything else that they hawk on their platforms. This is known as attentional capitalism, which, like so many other forms, or actually every other form of capitalism, is not designed to help us. I want to share with you one of the quotes from the lawsuit that led successfully this week to Meta being fined several $1 million. This is what the lawyers for the plaintiff said. Borrowing heavily from the behavioral and neurobiological techniques used by slot machines and exploited by the cigarette industry, defendants deliberately embedded in their products an array of design features aimed at maximizing youth engagement to drive advertising revenue. As you know, a jury in New Mexico awarded, in a similar case, $320 million from Meta. And there's a case here in Massachusetts as well where opening arguments have started and thousands of plaintiffs are lining up. But I wonder if the courts can save us now. There's a lot of pressure on our courts. There's a lot of pressure as our system continues to suffer shocks. In 1983, when I was working in television news, a journalist by the name of Ben Bagdikian wrote a book called The Media Monopoly. He was one of the early participants in something I'm going to suggest to you. It's called fairness and accuracy in reporting. So for those of you who don't know it, I suggest that you look up their site. You'll learn, they're really advocates for the things I'm talking about. The author of this book sounded the alarm. 50 corporations, he said, are in control of all of our media and all of our news. That was 1983. Right now, it's down to 6. That's a very small, that's something like 240 executives are in charge of everything we consume digitally. 243 people. How can any of us think we're receiving fair and accurate reporting? Because we're not. None of us is. The oligarchs of tech have a stranglehold on our government, our news coverage, everything we consume, and oh, by the way, just in case you needed a reminder, which I'm sure you don't, a stranglehold on our minds. So there are ways, and many of you have already talked about this, so I won't repeat them, and Laura talked about them too. There are ways each of us can work individually to get some of this stuff back, to get our own selves back, our own capacity to think. I have to tell you something. Speaking of ancient Greeks, which I was a minute ago, Socrates, the great teacher promoted by the philosopher Plato, Socrates was apparently very annoyed that people were learning how to write. Okay, how many thousands of years ago? He was annoyed because he felt that learning how to write would take away human beings' ability to think. Ha ha, right? He was a wise old man, was Socrates. We can, as you have suggested, retire our phones from 24/7 duty. We can eat well, we can sleep well. There's lots of research on all of the things we can do. But that's not going to solve the problem by itself. Johann Hari, who's written another wonderful book, Stolen Focus, talks about this is a systemic problem. This is a systemic injustice. This is a systemic theft. And the only way that this will stop, that we can reverse the clock, is if we all work together. If we get involved in the same way that we've gotten involved in protesting our current regime, which is every bit as greedy and rapacious as all of the front row tech billionaires at the inauguration. But get involved. Realize, understand that this is what we're dealing with. We're Unitarian Universalists. We depend on truth. We depend on our mind's ability to discern for ourselves who we wish to be in the world and who and how we wish to impact the world we live in. How we can together, not just parents, but how can we all together gently support and encourage our children and grandchildren to live in the real world and not the digital world. To remember how to have conversations and not having to ask ChatGPT how you invite someone to go on a date. I wish I'd had ChatGPT, because then I wouldn't have had so much trouble. Oh, wait a minute, I didn't really say that. The beautiful thing about life, and one of the many beautiful things, is that we do have choices. Even when we don't realize it, we do have choices. And I'm here to encourage. I don't suspect you really need my encouragement, but I'm here to encourage this community and all of our faith communities, we who care deeply about truth, deeply about justice, to join together in the efforts, as someone has already wisely said, to wrestle ourselves back from the brink. Amen, dear ones. Ashe, and blessed be.